So once again, the end of the year is upon us, and it's time we can finally reflect back on all the anime we got to see. But before that, how about we look at all the great things that happened in the past year? Remember back in the day when memes were just stupid macro images about cats that were passed around the office to be laughed at? Well, those simple days are unfortunately long over, as 2016 marked the year that real life became a meme and the whole world was laughing at itself. Britain started things off with a mid-season twist by actually rage quitting out of Europe because they got tired of picking up all the tabs at the EU pub, giving solace to millions of Brits as they finally had a topic to talk to each other about other than the weather. But of course, those attention-seeking Americans, not wanting to be outdone by anyone, hosted the biggest prank gone wrong of all time by electing the annoying Orange as president, leaving Hillary supporters completely dumbfounded, regretting that she probably just didn't dab hard enough to achieve victory. It was a year of shock, with no exception to those we lost. We unfortunately had to say goodbye to such influential figures as David Bowie, Prince, Alan Rickman, Muhammad Ali, recently announced Carrie Fisher, and people using the word literally and cringe the way they were actually intended. So it should come as no surprise that the biggest and most mourned over loss felt by anyone throughout the world was for that of a fucking gorilla. But hey, enough of real world events, we're here to talk about anime and all the weird and wonderful moments that mattered to us. Of course, I can't cover everything, but this is everything that stood out to me. And with that, we rewind back to January and the start of the year, as we start things off with the hottest new show of the winter season. Hold on a second, this isn't the right show. No, that's still not right. Dave! Hey Dave! What? Did we get the wrong opening for this show or something? Yes, the go-to anime that started everyone off this year was of course Erased, which had a stranglehold on the entire community for a brief period. This murder mystery thriller follows the story of a dude who has the innate ability of being sent back in time before major accidents occur in order to prevent them. After being wrongfully accused of murdering his mum, he's sent back to his childhood where he tries to prevent a series of child murders and find out who the real culprit was all those years ago. In Netflix's Making a Murderer but with time travel bullshit cause it's anime. This genuinely interesting concept had the community gripped every week waiting for new developments, even if there were some small things off with the writing. Several of the kids acted and talked like mature adults instead of being like, you know, annoying as fuck kids, leading to some genuinely awkward moments of a mentally 29-year-old guy having romantic tensions with an 11-year-old kid. It's probably not pedophilia because it's cute, right? But it could sometimes be overlooked when you remember the dark themes of the show and the events that the kids had to endure. However, the show lost massive steam when the culprit reveal ended up being more predictable than an average fucking episode of Scooby-Doo, which led to a rather weak and cheesy ending compared to the great build-up we were riding on for the majority of the series. Also, I don't know why I'm the only one who apparently has a problem with this opening for sounding more like a bloody Naruto opening than one for a time travel murder mystery thriller. Yes, I know it's by Asian Kung Fu Generation, but come on, this opening sounds nothing like the general tone of this series. Elsewhere in the season, the Gashi Kashi gave us our resident best girl debate in a show about candy. Yep, candy. I mean, who doesn't love watching shows about the sweet, sweet taste of candy? Rock hard candy, soft candy, and who can forget delicious cream pies? Hey Sydney, do you want a nice warm cream pie? What? Gate continued for a second season, showing the absolute might of the Japanese military, valiantly cowering at nothing, striking terror into the hearts of some medieval peasants armed with pitchforks. Because of this, it was discussed as being possible propaganda, with the Japanese government and SDF being painted in an overwhelmingly positive light, while other countries having an almost cartoonish level of villainy, such as the way they presented the American president as an egotistical, power-hungry blonde guy with no regard to public opinion. Hey, wait a minute! Parkour and free running finally got an anime in Prince of Stride Alternate, which sounded like a really cool animated concept if you base it on all the sick videos found on YouTube, but the anime itself basically boiled down to a bunch of dudes running around trying to find the most convoluted way possible to high-five each other at top speed. Dimension W gave the biggest plot twist in anime history by having a girl walked in on while taking a piss without losing her fucking mind. In a pretty average semi-episodic sci-fi show that didn't really do much to stand out except having the protagonist do a very out-of-character dance in the opening, as if this anime was actually about someone auditioning for some sick dance crew or something. Grimgar of the Fancy and gave us a totally original premise by throwing an unwitting group of individuals into a fantasy world. But the catch this time is that it's grounded in reality and everyone is weak as shit. Heavy emphasis was put on the most insignificant of battles and was a valiant attempt at creating a more serious addition to the concept. This year's latest attempt shows us that not all CG anime is bad came from Polygon Pictures Arjun, a show that got largely overlooked because any anime CG equals bad anime CG, which is a shame because once you look past the visuals, this is one of the most compelling, slickly written thrillers to come out in recent years, complete with a villain who's basically Psycho-Pass's Makishima if he were a stand user. Kyoto Animation stepped out of their comfort zone with Myriad Colors Phantom World, showing us that when they are not dangling Yuri bait in front of us or moe pandering, they are not above good old-fashioned tasteless fan service, featuring more accidental trips in panties, a girl who can probably deep throat a titan, and of course the classic anime boob physics rave party. Though the sleeper hits this season definitely belong to Konosuba, a show about a guy who is transported to a oh god damn it, but actually surprised the community by being a genuinely funny and charming take on the genre. There were several things the show just did right, but the one who stole the show and our hearts was of course Miss Galaxy Note 7. The adorable mate who refused to learn anything but explosion magic, bringing new meaning to the phrase, "Who here wants to blow me?"
I'm good, thanks.
Are you sure? As spring rolled around, everyone was just getting over their disappointment of the erased ending. We all had enough of stupid time travel gimmicks to draw us in, and we were looking for something new to latch onto. Or at least, we thought we were. Emilia! Yes, this year an anime undoubtedly belonged to Re:Zero, the time-looping show that took over the community, essentially just thousands of people watching the longest, most emotionally draining Let's Play of Dark Souls in anime form, as viewers tuned in weekly to watch some poor sod get tortured physically and mentally, creating the entirely new genre, suffer porn. But out of all the moments, the most talked about part had nothing to do with suffering, but was of course the I Love Emilia moment, triggering unprecedented scenes of an entire community declaring a character undeniably worse girl for doing absolutely fucking nothing. Yes, Rem ushered in the biggest wave of salt this community has seen since the Dark or Emo Wars of 2013, in response to scenes of what is commonly known as a massive dick move. But I've already covered Re:Zero extensively in my review and parody of it, so instead of repeating myself, let me take this time to talk about my actual favourite show of this season. In a time when the only way shonen battle series would get noticed would be by adding a darker twist to it, or subverting the tropes in a clever way, or by being JoJo's, it was nice to see a shonen that just went back to its roots and doing it really fucking well. Boku no Hero Academia was nothing more than a celebration of the tropes you've seen many times before, but refined to a T, demonstrating to us that you don't always need to do something overly original or off the cuff if you just get the basics absolutely right. Deku's pure, childlike desire to become a hero made him incredibly sympathetic to any person who's cheered for their heroes as a kid. And All Might was one of the most likable characters I've seen in anime, humanizing the charismatic mentor type in a way that you looked up to him, yet related to him at the same time. The charm of the series made it incredibly easy to get behind the characters and moments no matter how cheesy or predictable they were, giving you back your giddy childhood excitements at the best of times, so I highly recommend it for any shonen fans, or if you're just looking for something fun. Also, not to mention next season we're getting a tournament arc! Tournament arc! Tournament arc! Yeah! Elsewhere in spring, Cabanera of the Iron Fortress gave us the back muscles we never knew we had the boner for in Hey Wit! I thought this was meant to be Attack on Titan Season 2, yeah? Studio Trigger gave us a show about a group of quirky individuals becoming friends and developing feelings for each other, written by Mari Okuda. So you know what that means. Yes, this of course meant yet another group of friends falling for each other without getting their feelings returned. But looking past that, it asks the question of what would happen if humans could totally empathize with one another, in a way that I can't see being explored anywhere but in anime. It even had a character which was Marco from Kill la Kill done right. And I also need to mention this great, original opening that looks so trippy and cool, it makes you wonder what kind of a genius person could come up with imagery like this. A whopping 31 characters were introduced in the first episode of Lost Village, a show about a group of people running away from their problems in order to meet the biggest problem anyone can face: being an awful show. It was so awful, in fact, there were actually discussions on whether it was being intentionally bad. My personal take is that it was a planned love child of Higurashi and Lord of the Flies, but along the way got drunk, tripped over, and thought it was meant to be a sitcom. Bakuon gave us a cutesy fan service show that tried to appeal to the Motorhead too. Not saying they didn't succeed, but they just needed to introduce their characters the correct way. Like this. Some say he's seen every episode of One Piece 100 times over and can block a punch from One Punch Man. All we know is, he's called the Stig. Big Order gave us an annual dose of edge, giving us a completely trashy show that I somehow couldn't find myself hating. Imagine a death game starring Lelouch and his yandere sidekick, but every enemy was a stand user with the most ridiculously OP ability you can think of, like a Geass or Immortality or predicting the future. It was like if Mirai Nikki, Akame ga Kill, Code Geass, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure had a drunken coked up orgy one night and decided to live stream it. You're not proud of the fact you watched it, but it was still kind of entertaining. Joker Game gave us a World War II espionage drama, which sounds like a really cool original idea for anime until you realize how this would actually work in real life.
Alright chaps, I've just had intel that one of us is a spy working with the Japanese.
I keep telling you, it's not me!
That's exactly what a Japanese spy would say.
She is a very suspicious.
I completely agree with you, random Asian person in Europe who speaks broken English.
Sakamoto Desuka showed us how to transcend the limits of cool to a whole new plane no human has ever reached before. In Swag, the anime. Phoenix Wright gave us a true to the game anime adaptation that was faithful but ultimately had little to no reason for any newcomers to choose watching this over playing the games unless they didn't own a DS or a pair of hands. And finally, this year JoJo's yet again returned to us in the form of Part 4. What a beautiful Duwang. And I mean, it's JoJo's, what more can I say about it? It's gotten to the point now where I don't even know if liking JoJo's to death is something genuine or has become a meme in and of itself. So here you go, JoJo's. It's an anime that's good. It's really fucking good. You should watch JoJo's. JoJo's is love. JoJo's is life. Oh man, it's JoJo's! And that's it for part 1 this year. Join me next time when I talk about the CG that just keeps giving. And of course, a bunch of gay people on solid water. Hey guys, Gigok here. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much this month to Thomas B, Vincent Mooney, Moredarai, Lauken, and everyone else on Patreon for helping to support me and making this video possible. Once part 2 is out, you can click on the link here. But until then, if you want to see all the previous anime year in reviews, you can also click on the link. Now, I've worked my arse off to get both parts done before year's end, so hopefully that'll come to fruition and you'll see me again in a few days. But until then, I've been Gigok, and I'll see you all not in March 2017. Probably.